Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac. This is a show about business and market culture in and around St. John's, Newfoundland. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew Ledrew, owner and operator at Engine Books, the province's fastest growing independent publisher of books. Thank you for joining me for another great episode of the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac. Today we have a host of lovely local business people on answering the popular question, what do you do with your reviews? How do you process good or bad reviews? How do you do that? So let's get started. We've got some lovely people to talk to here. First up, as always, we have Pam Ansley, the wonderful executive director of the St. John's Farmers Market. Pam, read reviews of your business, and how do you deal with good ones or bad ones?
So we get people leaving both positive and negative reviews all over the place for the market. We're listed on Google, so people can go in. There's Facebook and Instagram and all the social medias and stuff like that. So from time to time, we get really awesome, glorious things that people are really excited by their visit here. They're really excited by a program or something they participated in. And that is amazing. And then there are times where people are less than complimentary, because that happens no matter how hard you try. And what really frustrates me is when the information that is presented is actually inaccurate. Yeah. So somebody will be crabby about something that has zero to do with me whatsoever. And not gonna lie, I like to think that I have a super thick skin, but I totally don't.
Yep.
So I really try to frame it in a perspective, but negativity stings. And sometimes what I remind myself, and sometimes what I remind myself when there's bad press or bad comments or bad whatever, is that we will always take the high ground here. Yep. And even though misinformation might exist in the world about what we do and how we do things, I'm going to keep doing things with the utmost of integrity that I can. And, can't see the haters with my love glasses on, kind of thing.
Nice. I like that. Can't see the haters with my love glasses on. Sounds like a very long title to a very naughty film from the 70s. Can't see the haters with my love glasses on.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that was a lot, but it should give you a taste. Next up, we have Bronwyn Bridges of Bronwyn Bridges Photography, a wonderful photographer that you can hire here in the city. Bronwyn, do you read reviews of your business if there are any? And if you have, and if you see any, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones? How do you deal with these, especially as an artist? Like, I know what that's like. You know what I mean?
Definitely. That's a really good question. Seeing as I'm so new at this, I have very limited reviews. So please, if you've ever bought something from me, go review me. But I do have a few good reviews on my page, which are so heartwarming because I love being able to, it's one thing whenever your friends and family are like, you're doing great. This looks beautiful. I love it. And it's like, are you just saying that because you're trying to be nice to me? I don't know. But when an honest stranger comes up and compliments you or leaves you a nice review, that just means the world. So I think seeing those is fantastic. A negative review, obviously right in the moment, might sting for a moment, but it's also, it's obviously beneficial because you're going to be able to improve off of what they said. If it was, this wasn't good quality, then okay, I'll change the quality of something, or if they critiqued my landscape or my portrait, I'm hoping it's a way that, I would be able to work on trying that style or trying something different. But I feel like as a photographer, everybody has their own style and everybody is very different in how they shoot and what they shoot. So I don't know if I were to take a negative comment from that, if I would be able to really change my style of shooting. I feel like it would just be more constructive criticism.
That's fair. I've seen some, as someone in the arts community, I've seen my fair share of weird reviews. Definitely when they start rolling in, don't take them too seriously. People in the arts community have a bad habit of thinking their opinion is factual. People in life have a problem with that, but like the arts is the worst for it because because your opinion is somehow factual. You know what I mean? Like there's no objective truth when it comes to the art. My favorite review, bad review I've ever seen of a local photographer, and I won't name the one, just because it always leads to people going on to find this review, is someone had hired this photographer to go out and shoot a picture of a landscape and wrote a negative review of their business, complaining because they had wanted the photographer to go out to Cape Spear and take a picture of the sunset over the sea.
Okay.
Cape Spear faces east.
Yeah.
And they were very upset that the person interpreted this as taking the sunrise. It's like, no, I want the sunset over the sea. And I'm like, that's physically impossible.
Yeah.
Stop. Self-emulate yourself. Like,
yeah.
Like
yeah,
people,
that's brutal.
Yeah. Very angry. That review stays up where it's like, why I asked this photographer to take a picture of a sunrise on the west. What's the problem here? And I'm like,
right. What is the problem here?
Yes. Education system is the problem here.
Yeah. Accurate.
That's okay. Thanks, Bronwyn. Next we have Travis House of Houseless Poetry, the person himself, the wonderful Travis Houseless, poet who will write you any poem for any amount of money. If you need that special greeting, he is your person. Come get him. Pretend you wrote it yourself and that you own a typewriter, I suppose. Travis, do you read any reviews of your work? And if so, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones mentally? I mean,
no, I haven't read. I don't know if anyone has reviewed my work at all. Anyone who's read it has been just kind and come up and tell me they dig it. But I tend to not put any weight into what other people think of pretty much anything. There are some respected figures I would listen to, but for the most part, yeah. Yeah, but for the most part, like, especially with poetry, and I also tell this to people, like, people don't get to tell you if your poetry is bad. Yeah. Sorry, but they don't. Your poetry is your poetry. It's an extension of your soul, and they can not like the way you structure your sentences. They can think that the words you choose are bland, but it doesn't matter. They don't get to say nothing about it. Yeah, and I mean, exactly. they can, but try not to internalize it. Well, I know a certain 9-year-old girl that has a bunch of your poems like framed in in rose gold frames on her wall. Like, and that means more to me than any critic review you could possibly, find me. Oh yeah. And this is why Travis and I are not allowed in the same room together anymore. Next on the line, we have Janine of Cheerio Creations, my goddaughter's absolute favorite spot to be at the market. Janine, do you read reviews of your business, Cheerio Creations? If there are any, or so, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones?
I do read them. I do read them if I get them. We haven't experienced a whole lot. We did have an article posted a couple years ago across Atlantic Canada, written by Danette Dooley, which got some really good reviews. I never seen anything negative, and it was in 9 provinces, I believe. Nice. So that we hand out a flyer with our products, and that flyer is excerpts of that article that was written about us, which is most of the story that I've told you. We look at it as, look, we do what we do. We enjoy what we're doing. We're not like anyone else. Our story is for us, our story is more important to share sometimes than our items. We appreciate people who want to listen. We appreciate people who want to buy our stuff. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But we haven't really come across, we've been doing it this long now and really haven't come across a whole lot of not wanting to like it or not people not liking it. So I really haven't experienced good and bad, but
you have to be a kind of a cold soul, not like, I understand not wanting to purchase one, you know what I mean, where it's like I could see myself buying a little terrarium and stuff like that for my desk and stuff like that, absolutely. But like I can understand not wanting to buy certain things, you know what I mean, like some stuff is definitely like my goddaughters are buying it and I'm not, all that kind of stuff, but like I cannot see someone being cold enough to be like, I want that, and then being like, oh, this isn't what I expected. I wanted to be filled with Cheerios or whatever.
I think people, I think when we tell our story and also how our products can be used, I think people value that a bit more, because like someone will look at our flowers and say, oh my God, they're so nice. And once we kind of tell them, like someone will say, well, why did you do this? And we explain why we started and the uses for them and that they're scent free and how a lot of the flowers you can't pick, like lupin. We do lupins, we do sun, and you can't keep them year round, and how we upcycle the pots and things like that. I think once people say, oh, okay, I didn't think of that, then they're more inclined to appreciate it a lot more.
Yep.
And the same thing when we explain our sensory pets. I mean, we do other things, like we have cotton products that you can use every day that we design for like accessibility for people who have issues. And we have like, other things, but the main two products, I think once we tell people why we make them, their value and their use, people end up saying, oh, gee, I never thought about that. That's a great idea. Or, okay, now I understand it, and they appreciate it more because then they find use for it.
Yep.
Versus thinking, what's it for? So I think that our story, that's the benefit of telling our stories, for people to see the actual value and use of them. Like we have a lot of people who buy our plants now for their mobile homes, their campers, their cabins, because then they don't have to worry about the plants every year.
Yeah.
Bed and breakfasts who use our pitcher plants on their nightstands.
Yeah.
So I think once that kind of value goes in and the use of it, I think people understand and they respect it too.
Yeah.
I think people understand and respect the work that goes into it as well.
Okay. Wonderful. Good.
All right, well, we're bouncing right from Cheerio Creations over to Mutter's Soap and Diana Boyd, the person who runs it. Diana, come on. We know you can answer this one. Come on the line. Diana Boyd from Mutter's Soap. Have you read reviews of your business? Do you read reviews of your business? And if so, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones?
Oh, that's a good question. I get some feedback, like from face to face at the markets. I love feedback, good or negative, because the good stuff obviously makes you feel good. You feel great. But I also like to get like constructive feedback or like negative feedback too, because it helps me tweak things. It helps me tweak my recipes. If I'm realizing a lot of people are having issues with like the scent being too strong or the scent being too weak, or as I said, like the soybean stuff. I can take that and fix issues. It's not great for any business not to know about problems, because you can't fix what you don't know. And then second of all, if people are going around the market saying, oh, don't use this person's stuff or go here because of blah, 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 but no one tells that company, they don't get a chance to fix or address any of that.
Yeah.
So like, I like both. I read, I don't get a lot of like written reviews. Most of my reviews are like mouth to mouth of customers coming back saying, oh, I love this. Or the best ones is the ones where people like make eye contact and like they beeline right towards me. And I can't get that defensive. reaction. And then this is just before the pandemic started, they would like stick out their hands or something and go, look at my skin. I'm like, and I look going, I don't see anything wrong. But like the ones that are like, my skin's changed, or my skin's softer, or my skin no longer feels itchy as soon as I get out of the shower. Oh, by the way, your skin should not feel itchy or tight when you get out of the shower. If it does, whatever you're using is not working for your skin and you need to change it.
With me, that does happen to me from time to time, and I strongly suspect it is that I like hot showers, but my body does not.
Mm-hmm. No, I love hot showers. I love showers that I'm like, you come out like red. That's me though. Like my husband thinks I'm insane. But like using my soap, my skin doesn't come out dry or itchy, but there has been other soaps I've used and other like body washes before I started making mine that at the same temperature, it would come out like almost feeling like dry, like if you feel like you have a glove over your hand sort of thing. And then as I made soap, I discovered that that's not a good thing. that's like your soap. You essentially, I think from my understanding is whatever you're using is actually pulling too much moisture out of your skin.
Yeah.
So it's making it dry.
Let's dig in there. A second ago, you said mouth to mouth communication, when I'm pretty sure you meant word of mouth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
time is it? It's 9 a.m. and I'm just on my first coffee. I've been up all night with my 4-year-old. So
what's going on in your head?
Not mouth to mouth is like CPR. Word of mouth, yes, thank you. Or like them coming back up to me and telling me themselves, sort of thing.
Kissing you, apparently. Yeah, those are the types of reviews you really pay attention to.
I think my husband would be very upset if someone came up and just randomly kissed me.
Yep, and yet, apparently that's your favorite sort of review.
Personal walls. Well, it depends, but yeah. Yeah, I meant to say word of mouth, being told directly, sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Next we have Carla Gazik from Little HK Bakery. Yeah.
Carla McIsaac, do you ever read reviews of your business or get reviews or anything like that? And so if you do, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones?
So I have read reviews, and posted reviews so far have been very good. Yeah. So, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I have had products that I bring to the market that not everybody enjoys.
No, of course not.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
And I'm really okay with somebody telling me that they don't like what I make, because not everyone likes everything.
Well, and it's food. That's very subjective. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because it's just me, I can't always fulfill, because sometimes people place orders for me out of my home. Sure. I can't always fulfill them, sometimes on the date that they need, or in the time frame that they need, or however that goes.
Yeah.
And people have been very, very understanding. I don't know, perhaps they're less understanding with their buddies and, have less positive things to say. But I will say I have been very, very fortunate that, things have gone well.
I like to think that the majority of the type of customer that partakes a farmer's market on a regular basis understands that they're not dealing with a large corporation, and so you know what I mean? Like there's you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah. It
does. There's some kind of a bit of compassion and kindness there.
Yeah.
And and I really, truly, I gotta say, when I first started, people looked at my stuff very skeptically and what is that? It's green. What is that?
Yep.
And samples were a huge help. Huge. Yes. Because most people will try just like a little taste of something.
Yep.
And as soon as you taste it, you realize, oh, it's not so frightening, it's not so scary. And then some things people never ever like mochi, because it's a very strange and foreign texture.
Yep.
It's kind of one of those things, like you love it or you don't. Kind of like I've heard cilantro, which is absolutely delicious. I could eat it from the stock.
I also love cilantro, yeah, but I know a lot of people who it is one of their no-go foods, and I'm like,
Yeah.
who hurt you? What's wrong with you?
I think it's just the way some people's taste buds go. That's it.
It is true, and like I have a very dear friend who can't smell. He lost his sense of smell at a horrible job. He worked in a mine, and the conditions in the mine, he's lost a sense of self for 20 years. He still doesn't have it. He'll probably never get it back. But that
Jeez.
affects how he tastes. You know what I mean? Yeah, to an extreme amount. So that's, it affects stuff like that. Yeah,
That's right. And and who knows? Like maybe people are genetically, their taste buds are different than other people's. I don't know.
100% they are. 100%. I learned something crazy the other day. I shared with another vendor earlier. So I was looking up an article about how a very small percentage of people, like 1 to 2%, don't have a mind's eye, which is, say, when they're reading a story, they can't picture it happening like a movie in their head. Or if they have a loved one that's passed, they can't just picture that person as though, they're there. But then the article went on to say that a much higher percentage of people, like say 5 to 10%, or sorry, 20%, don't have a mind's nose or a mind's mouth where they can't conjure and remember what a smell or taste is. And I was like, people can do that, because I can't do that. I'm one of those people that can't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean other humans can just remember how something tastes without putting it in their mouth?
You mean you can't remember what something tastes like?
Of course not.
Wow.
To me, that's a superpower. To me, like, I would not be able to remember what cinnamon tasted like without taking a piece of cinnamon and putting it in my mouth.
Matt, that is very intriguing to me.
Which is why I need to buy your little egg tarts every week, because I don't remember what they taste like, but I remember that they're heckin' awesome. And that's what the HK sounds like for me. It means to me. It means it's HK stands for heckin' awesome. Go get some egg tart.
Well, there is the upside right there.
Yeah.
To not being able to remember how something tastes and smells, there's the upside.
Yeah.
First time, every time.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
All right. Next we have on Teresa Murphy, the Risa Murphy from Hibernating Fox Studios. You gotta say it like it's Oreos. That's how it's pronounced. Teresa Murphy, do you ever read reviews of your business, of your art, Hibernating Fox Studios? Do you ever get feedback on it? If so, how do you deal with good feedback or bad feedback or whatever? Mentally, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I find again, being at markets is the best place to get feedback, because you get to see the person's reaction in person. So like their immediate, like sometimes people do double takes, or something will catch their eye and they'll just have to come in closer and kind of like take it in, which just gets my heart a little flutter. Whereas like we're so used to, with social media, Instagram, just consuming images, that it doesn't really have the same specialness, I guess, that maybe it used to. Like we're just so used to taking for granted that all these images and graphics that we see constantly was created by somebody.
Yeah.
And you can just go on Instagram for free, and a lot of art galleries now, especially over COVID, you can go in for free and look at all the old masterwork. But yeah, seeing someone's reaction in person, and you get to see all the little details, I find, of the artwork too in person.
Yep.
So I get to have a conversation with people about, this black cat looks like the kitty that they have, or that they had as a child, or different stories about how I came to create the artwork or what it means to them. So yeah, it's always amazing getting feedback, and I love seeing the pictures people have of their artwork that they purchased up in their homes. So it has its little home in their home.
Little home there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got its own little life outside of me. So yeah, it's always amazing getting that feedback.
Next up, we have the lovely, lovely person from Saucy and Sweet.
Wonderful, wonderful. Andrea, do you read reviews of your business? And if so, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones?
There aren't a lot for this particular business. There certainly were for my restaurant. And I've always made a habit of reading reviews. I mean, in this sort of so techie world, people can review all over the place. I'm fortunate with Saucy and Sweet that I haven't had any bad ones, or certainly not that I know of. What I find in this kind of business, and particularly where it's at the farmers market, if people have a problem with the product, let's say, with mason jars, there's the possibility that a seal could fail. And so somebody will send a message and let me know about that. And I'm so happy when they do, because I can replace a product. Or if somebody, enjoyed a product and they found that it wasn't the same as they had from me, say 2 or 3 years ago. I like to know about that because I can let them know why I've changed it or something like that. So I really appreciate the feedback. People do comment on Facebook posts and Instagram posts, and with the square, I don't know if you've ever found that, but people have the opportunity to review your product or service with the square so they can actually send a message back to you. And so I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I definitely, I keep an eye out and always review. And if there is something that somebody has a suggestion or finds a problem with anything, I definitely want to hear about it.
Excellent.
All right, next up, we have one of the reviewers who reviews everyone else that has been talking about reviews. We have Aurora from Faz Reviews, a Facebook page dedicated to reviewing every item in the farmer's market. So you do most of the reviews. Do you think if you got reviews of your business, like if people left reviews of Faz Reviews on Facebook, do you think you would read them and take it into consideration, or would you rather not read them?
I'd rather read it, take it into consideration, and then later on I would decide.
Okay. Sounds smart. Sounds very smart. All right, thanks, Aurora. And finally, for today, to round out this episode, it wouldn't be an episode of the Farmer's Market without a farmer. We have Bill from Harrycott Farms.
Bill at Harrycott Farms, do you read reviews of your business? And if so, how do you deal with good ones, bad ones?
Well, I mean, it comes with the, sometimes people tell you to your face, and and knock wood, we've had very, very positive reviews. Like I said, there was one guy that said our briskets were too fat, which okay, we can. It's really hard to make a product that everybody likes. It's not like it's ice cream. It's hard to make a sausage that everybody likes. It's hard to cut a piece of meat to everybody's specifications. Some people like extra fat. I know Jonathan Richler, the Jewish deli. He's all about it. So, and we were selling to another restaurant that unfortunately closed that had no problem with it. So, you deal with it the best you can, and you thank people for their input. And if it is legitimate, you correct it.
I mean, no one's asking for my opinion, but my opinion on the too much fat thing is that's what a knife is for. Like you're like, if you know what I mean? Like if you didn't give me enough fat, there's nothing I can do. But if you give me too much, I can cut it off. Like you're giving me the option.
Yeah. So try to find that perfect balance is, it's delicate sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on again. For all of you listening, we'll be here the same time next week to talk more about business culture in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Be sure to drop by and visit our guests and all the other vendors at the St. John's Farmers Market this week.